Hello Paper Rose friends, it's Donna here from Donna is Playing Paper, and I have a set of cards for you today using a brand new stamp and die set called Vintage Hello. These two products are designed to work together, but you can use either of them on their own. As far as the die goes, you can use just the outside to cut out a background for either the stamp or the die, or just the central Hello die, or you can use them together to get this effect that I've shown here. And I'm just going to pop it onto some black card so that you can see it better. There are so many different options for using this stamp and die, and I'm just going to run you through a few different options that use it with different combinations. First of all, I'm going to use just the die. I want the letters to be nice and vertical on my panel, and so I'm just marking the center of one of the L's at the top and the bottom and transferring that line to the back so I know what my vertical line is. That will help me line up the die onto my paper. I'm using the grid mat on my desk and extending that vertical line with my ruler so I can be doubly sure that everything is straight. Once that's cut out, I'm going to poke out the smaller pieces and then layer this up onto a piece of darker cardstock. So this card uses just the central Hello die. No stamp and no border. It's a very quick and simple way to make a card. When gluing it down, I'm just being very careful to add a little bit of glue to those center bits in amongst the Hello so that they don't catch on anything and flick up, and I'm just holding those down with a stamping block. To center the center of my O correctly, I'm using the letters as a guide. Once I have that center with its glue placed in, I'll pop up that O, and I'm going to add a sentiment from the black and white sentiment set. For the next card, I'm using this beautiful Rainbow Twirl paper. We're going to start the same way, cutting the word Hello with the letters lined up nice and vertically. This time, I'm using the stamp set above the die to help me make sure that everything's vertical. I've cut those letters out, and I've also cut them twice from black cardstock, and I'm going to layer them up. The first layer I'm placing exactly on top of the black, and then the second layer of the black, the bottom layer, is slightly offset so that there's a little black showing on the left. That's going to really help the letters to stand out when I place them back into this card. It's quite a busy paper, and so I'm just employing a couple of little tricks to make sure that you can see my Hello. It wasn't until I was editing this video that I realized that I forgot to put the center back in that O. To this day, it still doesn't have its center. Once everything has been replaced and that glue has dried, I'm going over the top with some glossy accents. This is a shiny glue which will self-level across the top of each letter and dry to a hard glossy finish. It takes quite a while to dry, so you need to be patient and put it aside. Next, I'm going to show you a couple of cards using the stamp. First of all, we're going to have a card which has colour on everything except the stamp. To do this, I'm heat embossing the Hello with some white embossing powder, and then I'm going to add some watercolour paints to this watercolour panel that I'm using. I've chosen some watercolour powders because I really like the way they swirl around on the page, but any watercolour medium would work here. I'm first of all just wetting my page, and then I'm dropping in some powder. Today I'm going for a couple of different blues and a mustard colour. I'll keep fiddling with this for a little while, moving the paint around and helping it in between the letters, because the place that I most need the paint is right around that hello so that we can read it easily. Then you can either let this dry or make it dry. Once everything's completely dry, I'm going to use a baby wipe. You can use a cloth with a little bit of water on it, just to rub over the white melted embossing powder to pick up any of the excess watercolour that's dried on top of that, and that really cleans up the image. I'm going to cut this with a stitched rectangle die and add another little sentiment, this time from a little sentiment set called So Extra 1.0, and this is a set of sentiments that are designed to go alongside a main sentiment. Here's another idea for just the stamp set: repeat stamping. I've chosen 3 different colours that will go together, each one slightly darker than the one before, and I'm stamping these using my stamping platform and slowly moving the paper up each time so that they're equally spread. I've chosen a yellow, a lime, and a nice teal blue for today's card. And with a little border and just a few glitter enamel dots, that card is done. Here's a great vintage style card that matches the style of the stamp. To make this card, I'm using a craft coloured piece of cardstock, and I'm first stamping this in a pigment ink in white. I'm using Hero Art's Unicorn white pigment ink here, and I'm using my heat tool to dry that every couple of stampings. Once I'm happy that I have a good coverage of white, I'm going to move my paper just about a millimetre or 2 inside my MISTI and stamp again, this time with a dark brown ink. That slight movement is going to offset my stamping and leave me with a nice shadow. The brown ink will stamp down, but the white ink will lift up onto the stamp. And so I'm going to stamp this a few times, cleaning off my stamp each time to make sure that I'm only stamping down the rich dark ink. I have a very technical way of pressing my paper down. Altogether, I did 3 stampings of the brown ink to get the coverage that I wanted. I've mounted this one very simply, again with the border, the glitter enamel dots, and an extra sentiment. Lastly, let's combine the die and the stamp together. I've stamped and heat embossed in gold, and you can see how perfectly this die lines up. For this card, I simply cut out my gold embossed sentiment, added it to some gold embossed paper, and added an extra sentiment. Simple, but I just wanted to show you how the combination works. So there you have it. I hope this has sparked your creativity and that you've got lots of ideas of where you can take this further. Until next time, stay safe, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye for now.